So guys, we have literally 1 week left until the Edge of Fate releases. That means that this is the last week to get any last minute preparations done before Edge of Fate goes live. So we're going to be going over some updates to preparations being made in regards to some new information that we've learned from Bungie, and then just go over some stuff that you should be doing in the game right now so that you are as prepared as you could possibly be. Now, the first major change is when it comes to Master Rahul here. So how he currently works is that you need to turn in engrams to then max out his reputation track to then be able to decrypt brand new exotics like these ones here. How this is going to work with Edge of Fate though is that new exotics aren't going to come from Master Rahul. He's not even going to have a reputation reward track or anything. New exotics are going to come from the completion of the legend difficulty of the expansions campaign. So you're no longer needing to hoard any exotic engrams to max out his rank to then get those new exotics. They all come from the legend campaign. So you don't need to worry about saving any of those. So if you were one of those people who saved up exotics, you can just go and turn those in right now, and I would highly recommend doing so because of the changes that are coming to exotics within the Edge of Fate expansion. So right now, exotics can get some pretty high stat totals, but when Edge of Fate launches, newer exotics are actually going to have lower stat totals than what you can currently get. So if you have an exotic, for example, that doesn't have the right or highest stat total that you're after, it might be wise to go and focus an exotic engram into one of those exotics just so that you can hopefully get a higher roll of it, because once Edge of Fate goes live, once again, exotics are going to have lower stat totals than what they can currently get. So that's one thing you can go and do. Alongside that, obviously, if you are going for a day one completion of the world's first race, bounty prep is going to be a very important thing to do. So you've probably already done some bounty prep, but if you haven't and want to get some done in the last week or so, daily bounties are going to be your saving grace, and also just get some weeklies from any of the main planetary vendors. One thing to note though is that you should not save any bounties that come from any of the episodic vendors. So do not save any bounties from Failsafe here over in the Helm, do not save any bounties from Eris's apartment, and do not save any bounties from Ido either, because they'll all be removed alongside this entire last city little destination thing here. Alongside that, all of the content tied to these episodes will also be removed. So I'd highly recommend that if you have access to this stuff, go and get at least all of the brand new exotic weapons that can be found from each of the exotic missions within each of the episodes. Get those. You don't need to worry about really getting the upgrades for these weapons unless you really care about that, but I would mainly focus on just getting the base weapon at the very least, because that's going to be very important just so that you have them. We don't know if they'll be added in later on, or more importantly, when they will be added back later on, so get those done as well. If you are interested in any of the legendary weapons tied to these episodes, might as well go and grab those. The only one that I'd really recommend you go and get is the solar rocket sidearm from episode 1 Echoes, because it's pretty darn good, and the other weapons from the past episodes aren't really all that noteworthy, so I wouldn't really worry too much, especially because with the weapon changes coming with Edge of Fate, probably going to be using some of those newer weapons anyway if you are lacking in the weapons department. If you've got some good god rolls though of past weapons, be sure to keep those. Alongside that, make sure to spend any of the planetary materials that you have saved up. All of these, the etheric spiral, glacial starwort, spin metal leaves, all of this kind of stuff will be being deprecated. Now, they're not going to be fully removed from your inventory, so if you want to keep some of them in your vault as like a memento of sorts, you can do that, but they are literally going to have zero purpose in the game, so you won't be able to come to Rahul here and spend them for Glimmer, and that's probably what I'm going to recommend most of you guys do, because Glimmer is probably going to be way more important than it currently is right now, so definitely it's going to be worth maxing this out if possible. If you want to, you can actually turn stuff into phantasmal fragments on the moon. Now, this, I don't believe, was mentioned about being removed, so maybe you can still turn these into Glimmer in the Age of Fate, but I wouldn't really bet on it. So if you want to save up some phantasmal fragments, you can go and do that via the moon, so that's one thing you can go and get done, but mainly just for these main materials, go and spend them, turn them into Glimmer, or just keep them in your vault, whatever you want to do. Whilst we're on the topic of materials as well, maxing out on enhancement prisms, ascendant shards, alloys, ciphers, even deep sight harmonizers will be a very good thing to go and do. Now, in terms of deep sight harmonizers, I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed that there aren't going to be any more craftable weapons being added in terms of newer loot. They might update older loot so it can be craftable. because I think they're now using crafted weapons as a way of just kind of catching up in a way, or if you missed out on some loot, they're going to make some stuff craftable. So either spend the deep sight harmonizers now on certain weapons that you want to take into the expansion, or just hold on to them and see what actually ends up happening with them. I do not know if raid weapons are still going to be craftable, so it might be a good idea to keep those, but not 100% sure on that. So if you want to keep them, highly recommend doing that, but if you want to spend them, you can also do that as well. But I would mainly recommend getting some Ascendant Shards and Prisms, because they're all going to be very much useful going into this next expansion with leveling up brand new armor pieces and weapons and all that kind of stuff. Moving on from that, make sure that you actually have room in your vaults. I made a video cleaning out my vault here. I'm down to 359 slots, which I think is pretty darn good. Most of you are probably a lot higher in the vault cap than I am, so make sure you have some room there just for some new stuff. And also, very important here, make some room in your character, weapons, and armor inventories, because the last thing you want to do once Edge of Fate comes out is to constantly keep on having to return to the tower to check your postmaster so you can keep on getting those higher loot drops. So make sure there's some room here on your characters when going through the Legend campaign. And once you have done all of that, some very last stuff that you can do if you really want to keep on playing is actually come over here to Ada 1, because obviously with a brand new expansion comes brand new armor pieces to be earned, so that means you can get some brand new fashion. There's a video I made a couple of days ago previewing some of the brand new fashion sets that will be available either through the Eververse store, which will automatically be turned into ornaments, or from some of the other activities in the game, in which case you will need some of the armor synthesis stuff in order to get those. So complete any of Ada 1's bounties to then get some of that currency saved up, so that if you want to use some of the new fashion as ornaments, you can just immediately go ahead and do that. Now, I don't believe that those Ada 1 bounties actually reward XP, so I don't think you should be saving them going into the next expansion. I would just mainly get those completed so that then you can get that armor synthesis material. That's pretty much all of the prep stuff in game that you can do, but I'm now just going to go over some of the stuff that's going to be removed once Edge of Fate goes live. Most of this stuff is just like episodic content, but we're just going to cover it all. So this can all be found on Bungie's official website, items being deprecated at the start of Year 8, which is the start of the Edge of Fate. All bounties, missions, quests, engrams, seasonal heirlooms, and artifacts from episode Echoes, Revenant, and Heresy, as well as Rite of the Nine. All ritual and pinnacle weapons, associated ornaments from tower vendors. The gear will become available in Monument to Lost Lights Exotic Archive. Destination materials, like I said, whilst they have not dropped from resource nodes since the Witch Queen, destination materials in player inventories will no longer have value and can be safely dismantled when Year 8 begins. These materials will not be automatically removed from inventories. Upgrade modules also may still drop from older content, but can be safely dismantled for resources when Year 8 begins. Tower vendor and reputation tracks, the volume of currency and rewards previously available from these rank reputation tracks will be shuffled back into activity completions and the portal. Ritual activity engrams, Trials of Osiris and Gunsmith bounties, Gunsmith engrams, ghost mods, armor focusing mods, with the old armor stats will be replaced to accommodate armor 3.0 stat archetypes. Prism Harvest, Modularity and Prosperity activity mods, and episode Heresy minor boons. Planetary Piston Hammer, Tonic Capsule and all tonic variations, Tome of Want and Scriptures, Meta-sized Essentia, Essence of Desire, Sigil Shards, Curie of the Nine, and Nonary Manifolds are all going to be deprecated or removed once Edge of Fate starts, so turn any of that stuff in or delete it, do whatever you want with that information. Alongside that, they also have Destiny 2 content vault updates. This is basically saying that everything tied to any of the past episodes, that being Echoes, Revenant, and Heresy, alongside Rite of the Nine, is all going to be removed. Alongside this, any of the exotic quests or rewards tied to specific stuff tied to these episodes are also going to be removed, so get any of it whilst you still can. And that is basically it for today's video in terms of last minute prep stuff. One thing that I'd also recommend people do is kind of take a break from the game so you're not immediately burnt out when you start playing on the 15th, but that's just what I'm going to be doing anyway. Take that as you will. With that all said, that's it for today's video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe. But with that all said, once again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.